Gray Mesa Training Center, New Mexico's most disciplined base, was the last place anyone expected a mistake. The sun hammered the desert compound. Black Hawks shimmered on the runway. Armored vehicles sat like sleeping beasts. Recruits from the 200th North Mechanized Infantry Brigade crawled through sand and barbed wire. Precision, grit, no excuses. Colonel Victor Hale watched like a hawk. After a recent training accident almost cost him his command, Hale became obsessed with absolute control. No missteps, no surprises. Not again. Then, there was one. An older man sat alone beside the obstacle course, faded jeans, sun-bleached shirt, boots worn down to the leather. No escort, no salute. And yet, he had passed the gate. The MPs had seen the card he carried, retired Command Sergeant Major, lifetime access. Only a handful of men in Army history had ever earned one. A few younger soldiers even whispered as he passed, "That can't be him. The ghost, right?" But Hale didn't know those whispers. All he saw was a breach. He strode forward, jaw tight. "This is a restricted federal facility," he said. "Who cleared you to be here?" The old man looked up. Calm, steady. "Just watching. Your men are sharp." Men. Not recruits, not soldiers. Men. It landed like an insult. "They're soldiers," Hale replied coldly. "And you're trespassing." Private Noah Pike, catching his breath at the rope wall, froze. The way the old man sat, upright spine, relaxed shoulders, felt familiar, like someone who'd spent decades in uniform. A faded airborne tattoo peeked from beneath his sleeve. But he didn't stand, didn't apologize, didn't explain. "Name," Hale demanded. "Ward." No rank, no salute, no explanation. Hale's jaw clenched. No ID, no clearance. Nobody speaks to him. Nobody helps him. His eyes drifted to a steel bucket filled with murky wash water near the course. And that, right there, was the moment everything began to go wrong. Where are you watching this from? Let me know in the comments. And if this story pulled you in, make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Colonel Victor Hale stood motionless, jaw locked tight. Ever since the training accident that nearly ended his career, every inspection, every whisper from headquarters felt like a countdown to failure. And now, this. A stranger on his field, in his chain of command. Calm as stone, he needed control back. "Attention!" Hale barked. The training ground froze. Rifles stilled. Dust hung in the air. Even the wind went silent. Ward remained seated, fingers loosely interlaced, eyes steady, not arrogant, not afraid. Just unshaken. And to Hale, that felt like defiance in front of his men. His gaze landed on a steel bucket by the obstacle pit. Muddy water, mixed with detergent and sand from weapon cleanings. He lifted it. "You see this?" Hale said quietly, voice sharp as broken glass. "This is what happens when people believe the rules don't matter." A ripple of unease passed through the formation. Private Noah Pike's throat went dry. Every instinct told him to step forward. But Hale's earlier order echoed like iron. Nobody moves. Nobody helps him. Hale stood over Ward. "You don't belong here," he said, "and I don't allow cracks in my command." Ward finally looked up. No fear, just quiet recognition, like he'd seen men like Hale before. Then the bucket tipped. Dirty water crashed over Ward's head and shoulders. Mud streaked down his face, dripping onto the dust below. A few soldiers sucked in sharp breaths. Someone whispered, "Sir." No. Ward didn't move. He blinked through the grime, reached into his pocket, and drew out a worn white handkerchief. Slowly, with the care of a man folding a flag, he wiped the mud from his eyes. Not a word. Not a tremor. That quiet dignity hit harder than any punch. The bucket clattered to the concrete. "Let this be a lesson," Hale said, breathing hard. "This uniform is about order, not sentiment. He stopped. Engines rumbled at the gate. A black Suburban, flanked by 2 MP vehicles, rolled into the yard. On the bumper, 3 silver stars. Pike's heart nearly stopped. Lieutenant General Armand Kessel, and he had just seen everything. You don't salute a retired sergeant. You don't salute a man covered in mud, sitting on a concrete wall. But rules were about to break. The black Suburban didn't arrive by accident. Gray Mesa had been under quiet investigation since the last training fatality. Lieutenant General Armand Kessel was sent to see if this base still deserved to exist. The vehicle stopped. 3 silver stars glinted in the sun. Kessel stepped out. Tall, composed, every ribbon on his uniform aligned with surgical precision. He didn't scan the field, didn't greet Hale. His eyes went straight to one man, Ward. The old soldier sat there, soaked in mud, shoulders relaxed, eyes distant, like his mind was still somewhere in the mountains of Nuristan. The troops watched, frozen between confusion and dread. Hale moved forward, forcing a salute. "General Kessel, sir, if I'd known you were coming, I would have—" Kessel walked right past him. Not a glance, not a word. He stopped in front of Ward, and for a heartbeat, the world held still. Then, Kessel snapped to attention, heels locked, back straight, hand to brow. A salute. Not regulation, not required. Pure respect. The breath left the field. A general was saluting a retired enlisted man, covered in mud. His voice came low, almost reverent. "Command Sergeant Major Elias Ward. Sir, it's good to see you again." "Sir," a 3-star calling a sergeant, "Sir." Whispers rippled through the formation. Pike felt his pulse hammering in his ears. Ward finally turned his head. His eyes, cold blue, tired but unwavering, met Kessel's. "Didn't think you'd remember me, Armand?" Kessel's jaw tightened. Not in anger, but guilt. "There are men you salute for their rank," he said quietly. "And men you salute because you're still alive to do it." Then his gaze cut to Hale. Sharp, unblinking. "Now, Colonel, explain to me exactly what you've done here today." No one moved, because everyone knew. The storm had just begun. Silence held the field like a vice. No one shuffled. No one breathed too loud. Lieutenant General Armand Kessel stood in the center of the training grounds, hands clasped behind his back, eyes fixed on Colonel Victor Hale. No raised voice, no theatrics, just controlled disappointment, the kind that ruined men more than anger ever could. "Colonel Hale," Kessel said, quiet but razor-sharp, "you drenched a decorated war hero with wastewater on a U.S. Army installation, in front of your troops." Hale swallowed. "Sir, he had no ID, no record in current personnel systems. I was enforcing base security." "Security?" Kessel stepped closer. "You poured filth on Command Sergeant Major Elias Ward, the ghost of Corbett Ridge." A low ripple went through the formation. Kessel let the name hang. In 2009, when his platoon was overrun 10-1, he held the North Ridge alone for 16 hours. When their Black Hawk crashed in Nuristan, he carried Sergeant Blake, 2 bullet wounds on his back for 40 miles. He's the reason that patch on your shoulder still means something. Pike felt his throat tighten. Hale's eyes flicked to Ward. Mud-streaked, silent, statue still. Kessel's voice hardened. "You speak of enforcing discipline. You don't even understand the uniform you're wearing." Then came the sentence. "Effective immediately, you are relieved of command of the 214th Mechanized Infantry Brigade. You will surrender your sidearm, placed under Article 15 preliminary review, and report to legal at 1800 hours." Gasps broke the silence. A colonel, relieved on the field. Careers didn't recover from that. Kessel turned to walk away. Then Ward stood. Mud still clung to him, but his posture was iron. "Armand, that's enough." Kessel paused. "He didn't know who I was," Ward said quietly. Punish him, but don't bury him. Make him understand the weight. Don't make him a ghost. Kessel studied Ward's face. Behind the mud and years, this was still the man who once stood between him and death. One slow nod. And just like that, the real punishment began. Not a courtroom, not a prison, something worse. Living with the people who paid the price he had forgotten. Colonel Hale didn't stand before a courtroom. He stood before a hospital. Under Article 15 review and General Kessel's order, he was reassigned to the Rio Grande Veterans Medical Center. No rank, no salute, no command. Just plain fatigues and a silence heavier than handcuffs. Ziapi sign. First morning, a nurse handed him gloves and simply said, "Follow me." He pushed wheelchairs, cleaned prosthetic sockets scarred by shrapnel, sat beside men who still woke swinging at enemies long dead. No one stood for him. Some ignored him. Others stared at him like he didn't deserve to breathe the same air. And then it happened. In a quiet hallway, a double amputee veteran stared at Hale's spotless boots and asked, voice steady, "Colonel, you ever hear rounds crack past your head? Or are your wars fought from behind glass?" Hale froze. No answer came out. That was the fracture point. Something inside him finally broke and rebuilt itself differently. And in every ward, every scar, one name kept echoing. Ward carried me through Carbet Ridge. He held my hand until the medevac came. He shows up here more than any officer. For the first time, Hale didn't feel humiliated. He felt small and human. Back at Gray Mesa, Ward never spoke of what happened. Some mornings he stood by the firing range, hands behind his back, watching recruits with the eyes of a man who had outlived too many of them. One day, Private Noah Pike walked up beside him. "Sir, how do you know you deserve the uniform?" Ward didn't smile, but his voice was calm. "You don't earn it by putting it on. You earn it by remembering who wore it before you, and who never got to take it off." Weeks later, after another shift at the VA, Hale walked across the parking lot. His hands were raw, his boots were no longer spotless. He saw Ward standing under the evening sun. Hale stopped, straightened, and saluted. No rank, no protocol, just respect. Ward returned it, quiet, steady. Because in the end, the uniform was never about power or medals. It was about the weight of names stitched into memory, the living, the fallen, and the ones who carried both. And if you wear it without understanding that, you never deserved it at all.